My girlfriend found out that I was taking one for the team when we first met, and now she's spiraling in insecurity. How do I get her to be confident in my attraction to her again? About 2 years ago, I was at a party with a friend of mine who we'll call Josh. Me and Josh were just vibing to the music and chilling when he suddenly spots two girls. The one he was interested in was this pretty blonde, while the other was her heavier friend. That's not to say her friend was unattractive, but just a little noticeably bigger than what could be considered average weight. Anyway, Josh turned to me and urged me to be his wingman by taking one for the team and distracting her friend while he chatted with the blonde. After a little back and forth, I decided to just do it and be a good friend. So we made our way over and made our move, where I would go in first and start chatting with their friend while Josh began flirting with the girl he was interested in. Again, this friend I was talking to was by no means unattractive, just a bit heavier than what most guys, myself included at the time, would go for. I thought she was very sweet, even though I was just talking to her out of obligation. It didn't really matter anyway, because ultimately the girl Josh was into already had a boyfriend apparently and had seemingly brushed him off, with him eventually patting me on the back to signify I didn't have to chat with her friend anymore. So I decided to politely end the conversation, however, not before she asked for my Instagram, which I decided to give her. I didn't really think much of it at the time, and I was certain I would never see her again. However, a couple of days later, I ran into the same girl in my school's campus store. I didn't really recognize her at first, but she seemed to know me immediately. We decided to chat for a bit, and I was reminded of her name, Megan. Anyway, it was really just small talk until Megan suddenly seemed a little awkward. I asked her if everything was alright, and she replied that nothing was wrong, but she wanted to know if I wanted to go out with her sometime. This actually came as a shock to me because it was the first time a girl had ever made the first move and asked me out. So even though she wasn't really my type at the time, I said yes, and that was probably the best decision of my life. Me and Megan really hit it off, and before long, we were in a serious relationship. Any qualms I had about her weight were gone immediately after the first time we slept together, and I actually found her body to be really soft and comforting. I had never felt so relaxed cuddling with someone before I met her. We've been dating for 2 years now, and I absolutely love her. She's my everything, and I have even been thinking of proposing as soon as we are both done with school. Everything was perfect until last month. Last month, we hosted a small get-together just for a few friends who were also in relationships, like a couples game night sort of thing. It was here where Josh, who has been my good friend for years, was pretty drunk and made a joke about how if he had never forced me to take one for the team back then, I would never have found the love of my life. The joke didn't really register to me as anything negative, and I was also drunk, so I just laughed it off. Megan was cuddled up next to me on the couch, though, and asked what Josh meant by that. I told her nothing, but Josh, being the drunk idiot he was, elaborated and told her the story about how we met through my perspective at the time. Megan just said, "Oh," and didn't really react, so I figured she just brushed it off. However, the rest of the night, she seemed kind of distant and even a little sad. Finally, once everyone had left, she let it all out and started crying. She was essentially in shock because this whole time she thought I approached her then was because I was interested in her, and learning that it was because I was forced to seemed to bring back old insecurity within her. It doesn't help that she's actually gained weight since back then, even though I don't really have any problem with that and have told her that multiple times. I immediately gave her the full story about how I fell for her right after that, and I have loved and adored her ever since. She seemed reassured, and we even cuddled the whole night after that. Since the night though, she's been acting differently. It's like she's lost her confidence around me. She only wears large baggy clothes even though she never used to before. She refuses to change with me in the room and hardly eats in front of me. Before, I used to playfully tickle her stomach sometimes, and she'd always smile and play along. Now, she always seems insecure when I so much as accidentally graze it. She also refuses to sleep with me without a shirt on. So far, I sat her down multiple times and explained that her body is incredibly attractive to me and that there's no one more beautiful in my eyes than her. But it's like she doesn't believe me. Lately, I've been thinking about offering her to come to the gym with me, but I'm scared she may be more insecure at that suggestion. How do I get her to believe that I love her no matter what she looks like? That I truly adore her in all aspects? I just want her to be confident in herself again.
Here is your letter.
It's happening again. I'm so excited.
I know. Today's secret is from Brooke.
I really need your help, and I can't talk to my friends and family about how I'm feeling. I am getting married this year, and I'm so excited to spend my life with my fiancé, Josh. We've been together for 5 years in June, and our relationship is very special. Josh is handsome, clever, warm, and romantic. Everything I've ever wanted in a husband. I love him more than I can describe, and he treats me extremely well.
Slay.
Over the years, we've handled everything life can throw at us together. I was there for him when he was grieving his mum, and he helped me through every mental health struggle I encountered throughout the COVID lockdowns. My parents absolutely adore Josh, and it's with good reason. I am very, very lucky to have him. There's just one problem though. I can't stop thinking about his best friend.
No!
His name is Ben, and he's Josh's best man. They've been like brothers since high school. I don't know when I started noticing Ben in a non-friend kind of way. It was probably around this time last year. The three of us, myself, Josh, and Ben, developed a ritual of going to the gym together on Saturday mornings, then getting breakfast at a nearby cafe afterwards. It was these Saturday mornings at the gym and sharing breakfast that drew me closer to Ben. He's very tall and attractive for starters, as well as charismatic and funny.
Girl.
When I'm with Ben, I find myself having such a good time. We also have the best conversations. We don't agree on everything politically, but I enjoy that he wants to talk things through with me and understand my point of view. He's a great conversationalist and has a great mind. Somewhere, as you can probably tell, my feelings for Ben became a crush. I look forward to seeing him at the gym and get excited at the thought of us having one of our deep conversations. Of course, Josh is always there with us, so everything is above board. He just likes sitting back and letting us go. I think he finds my closeness to Ben endearing and sweet. His fiancée and his best friend are close, and he's very happy about that. While I'm unsure as to whether Ben feels anything for me romantically, I find it hard to believe he'd be unaware of our chemistry. Truthfully, I'm not sure how he could miss it, or how Josh hasn't developed even the faintest hint of jealousy. Ben regularly comments on my appearance in front of Josh, looking me up and down and saying things like, "You look great," or "How lucky is this guy to have you?" On my birthday, he bought me a bouquet of flowers. But again, Josh was there, and it was seen as something thoughtful
He's
and
your
friendly.
fiancé. Of course he's there.
Ben has a long-term girlfriend too, so perhaps that's why nobody really blinks an eye.
Josh happens to be
She's
there.
lovely, but he never really involves her in our little group. I know that all of this must read badly, and I want to remind you, I love my fiancé so much. He makes me so happy, and I know I make him happy in return. This is not about falling out of love with him or not wanting to get married, because I can't wait to marry him and be his wife. Although, on the other hand, my feelings for Ben are undeniable. There's just something about him that I find so captivating and sexy and, for obvious reasons, wildly confusing. What does any of this mean? Is it normal to have a crush on your partner's friend or to fantasize about them? Is this why some couples swing with their close friends? And ultimately, is this just a natural, unspeakable part of being in a long-term relationship, that crushes will come and go without meaning much at all? My mind is swimming and I need some clarity.
Okay.
Am I wrong for initially not believing my son when he said he was sick? I'm a 48-year-old single mom to 2 kids. We'll call them Rachel and Vic. Rachel recently turned 18 and she has a lot of chronic health issues that she's been struggling with since she was little. We've been blessed that she has a lot of good periods, but right now she's having some trouble, likely due to the stress of next year's graduation and all that entails. Needless to say, I've been kept pretty busy making sure she stays as healthy as possible, and I think Vic has always resented the extra attention his sister receives, which is understandable. I've always tried my best to make sure he also has special time devoted to him too, but I'd be lying if I said Rachel's health hasn't taken precedence. About a month ago, we had the good news that Vic will likely be graduating early due to academic excellence. I was so happy and congratulated him, but I noticed that since then his behavior seemed to be worse. He was more moody, short with me, and not eating the meals that I made. Am I wrong for initially not believing my son when he said he was sick? He was acting super moody, being short with me, and not eating the meals I made. Last week, I took Rachel to the doctors over a sinus issue, and while we were there, Vic called. He called from school saying he was in a lot of pain and could I take him home early. I told him he knew I was at the doctor with Rachel, and he got all pissy and said some not so nice things about me favoring her. I'll admit I jumped to conclusion and figured he was just trying to get attention since his early graduation news hadn't given him enough. So I told him that because of his bad attitude, I wouldn't be picking him up at all. When I got home, everything seemed normal, but when I called the kids down for dinner, Vic did not come. And when I checked his room, I quickly realized he was genuinely sick. I immediately rushed him to the doctor and apologized profusely for not believing him. I tried explaining where I was coming from, but he said if I was Rachel, I wouldn't have made that assumption. And since then, he hasn't really talked to me.